What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, and today we're diving into a case that hits close to home, and I will try to remain as unbiased as possible when looking at this evidence, but really it's a more interesting kind of case in our home state of Florida where things can unravel and it really feels like a movie sometimes. But this is a real life case that we are going to break down. It's almost like the second part of the case where we've already had some convictions, some plea deals. We've had a trial already for murder for multiple co-conspirators, and we have another trial, at least one more trial coming, maybe two. And I'm talking about the FSU criminal law professor, Dan Markel, who was a professor at FSU College of Law while I was there. Amazing guy, really nice guy, super smart guy. I did not take his crim law class. He was known as the more difficult professor. I had a guest professor from the University of Tennessee, and by all accounts, I wish I would have had Professor Markel. So while I wasn't in his class, he was still there at the same time, and by all accounts was an amazing professor and beloved by all the students and faculty, which is what makes this story so difficult and so sad that he was taken when he was an up-and-coming, brilliant legal mind by all accounts. And this story has to do a lot with his life, his personal life, his relationship, that ended in a fatal gunshot. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about all the legal ramifications. We're going to talk about some procedural history and some background of the case. So if you all are interested in this case, let me know in the comments and let me know by liking the video. If you have no interest in it, perfectly fine to let me know as well, because we are going to try to pick the content most people are interested in. And I've gotten a ton of questions about this over the last year. And I stayed away from it, but now that we finally have this most recent indictment, it's time to jump into this case and see if justice will prevail at the end of the day. So Dan Markel married his wife, Wendy Adelson, who is also a lawyer, also a professor at FSU. I did not know her at all. I don't think I've ever even seen her in my life, but they were married for 6 years and had 2 kids. She is from a prominent family in South Florida who are dentists and oral surgeons and, big shots in the community basically in South Florida. Pillars for over 40 years is how people explained them. Dan and Wendy divorced after 6 years. They had the 2 kids. It was a nasty divorce, a lot of nastiness in the proceedings, 2 lawyers. You can imagine how it got. And the big and the last kind of final straw, which made it really ugly, was Wendy was trying to petition the court to take the kids back to South Florida to move back in with her family. Dan was throwing his body in front of that, obviously. And so that's kind of where the sparks started to fly. And eventually, 2 years after their divorce, I believe, Dan Markel pulls into his driveway, pulls into his garage. Somebody comes up to the driver's side window and pulls the trigger twice, firing shots that were fatal to Dan Markel, who later died at the hospital. His neighbor came over, called the cops. It was just a horrible, horrible scene. A lot of people had alibis. His wife had an alibi. There was a TV repairman. The family had alibis. They were all back in South Florida, and there was no seeming connection between the shooter and the Adelson family, which is Wendy's family, Markel's kind of in-laws. So what's happened as of now procedurally in the case? Well, they found the gunman and the other person in the car. There were 2 people in the car when he was shot, and one of them took a plea deal and said that the Adelson family hired them to kill Dan Markel because they wanted to get their kids back. The second one denied allegations, went to trial, and was convicted of murdering Dan Markel. But the third piece, and potentially the link to the Adelson family, was also tried in the same trial with the convicted murderer, because one of them pled and was already in prison. But the one that went to trial was him, the shooter, and Katie Magwanwa. I don't know how to say her last name, so we're just going to call her Katie. Katie is potentially the link connecting all of this. So she was tried on conspiracy to commit murder as a link between potentially the Adelson family and the shooters. And she has that link because she is a former girlfriend of Charles Adelson, who is Wendy Adelson's brother, Dan Markel's brother-in-law. And she is the mother of the children of one of the shooters. So she's had relationships with men on both sides of this transaction. And so naturally she was prosecuted as the connecting link between these 2 parties. But when she was tried for these charges, the jury could not come to a decision, and it ended up in a hung jury for which she was supposed to be retried this year in February, but it's been kicked to May 16th potentially. But there could be another delay in that retrial because the new indictment and the new charges I referenced in the beginning have come down the pipe for Charles Adelson, the person most people throughout the entire years and years, like 6 years of this investigation since this murder, most people have felt like he was behind it all. Kind of a powerful guy in South Florida, oral surgeon, who pulled the strings and ordered the hit on his sister's ex-husband to get the kids back, to get his sister back. That's what's been thought in the media kind of throughout the entirety of this case. And obviously we have some reasons for that because one of the shooters that pled to it said the Adelson family was behind it. So we'll see if they can actually prove these connections. And he's been charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. New recordings came out recently and were enhanced from undercover FBI wiretaps that they say, and the prosecution says, now connects Charles Adelson. That is going to be the damning evidence of Charles Adelson. And the big decision before the court is how much, if any, of those recordings are they going to let into the trial, and whether or not Katie, the connecting link, and Charles Adelson should be tried together or separately. And we talked about severing trials between two co-defendants in the Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow case. The judge decided to join those cases and not sever them. The state in this case wants to join Charlie Adelson and Katie together and try them in one trial. But Katie obviously wants to sever them. She does not want to be connected to that and have potentially a windfall conviction, which didn't happen the first time she was tried. But she is trying to sever that. So the judge needs to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to try them together. And if the judge decides to join these two cases together, there's no way it's going to go to trial May 16th. I would expect it not to go to trial May 16th, which is just coming up this coming Monday. But if it does, we will be following the trial of Katie and we will be following the trial of Charlie whenever that happens. But let me know if you're interested in this case. Let me know if you've heard anything about it or if you have any questions about it. This is just kind of an intro video to bring us up to speed, give you a little background on the case, what my connection is to it in our home state of Florida, and talk about the procedural history because a lot has already happened. So let me know your questions and comments below and hit the like button if this is content that you're interested in. Thanks for being with us. Until next time. Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.